let's get to this man because he's missing out on some crucial information that's going down right now on the NFL Network, NFL Media Group talent Zoom prior to the season, where we're hearing about points of emphasis and stuff like that. Folks are taking copious notes from me right now on that Zoom. I'm missing it. And I told Daniel Jeremiah, just turn your camera off. They have no idea if you're not on the Zoom and you're on the Rich Eisen Show. So, DJ, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yeah, there's probably 100% chance I'll be the one that gets called on here.
What are you being called on? Like, what's going on? What is happening right now?
I just feel like I've done very few things to get myself in trouble over the years, Rich, but I'm caught every time as a kid. So I just figure, we got to play a little hooky, have a little conversation here off the Zoom, off the Network Summit Zoom, and yes. I'm sure there'll be like some random point where my name will be brought up, and DJ, you want to chime in here? And then, I'm not there, but I'm okay with that. I'm willing to risk it for you.
I'll take the hit, Daniel, because I'm in 9 days I'm hosting the ribbon cutting ceremony for the new studio, so
Ooh.
I think I'm in good standing there.
Still waiting for my invitation on that one. I guess that's not coming.
I'll take the hit. Daniel, I don't know. If you want to be my plus one? You bring the scissors? You bring the scissors. You're my plus one.
The big scissors. Oh, I've always wanted the big check and then the big scissors. Those are life goals.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, man. What did you see out of Trey Lance yesterday that makes you think something? What do you got for me on that?
Well, they had held off on any of the design quarterback stuff. Now, they did a little bit of it. They sprinkled some of it in with Trey Lance yesterday, and that's what got me fired up. Now, one of them's a touchdown. It's a 4-yard run, and I posted that, and I said, uh-oh, watch out. Like, here we go. And people freak out and say, oh, it's backups versus backups. It's a 4-yard run. We've seen this before. What's the big deal? And I'm sitting here going, no. I'm watching, knowing what Trey Lance can do as a runner. And now I'm saying, okay, they're going to kind of unleash this thing in some way, shape, or form, whether that's just when they get down inside the red zone, whether that's on third and shorts. Are they going to sprinkle them in throughout the game? I got a feeling that something's coming there, Rich. He might not be starting, but we're going to see Trey Lance, and we're going to get a chance to see them line up. And as a defense, you're going to see Deebo Samuel in the slot. You're going to see George Kittle lined up next to Trent Williams, who, arguably the best left tackle in the NFL. And you're going to have a big-time speed back next to Trey Lance, and you're going to have to wonder, are they getting ready to pound this thing down my throat? Are they going to go play action, and all of a sudden now George Kittle just ran by me? Are they going to flip it to Deebo Samuel coming across the formation, or are they going to fake all that crap and Trey Lance is going to take off? Like, there is so much you're going to have to deal with defensively and to game plan against. I mean, I can't wait. I think it's going to be a nightmare to defend when he gets in the game.
Yeah, I mean, when you tweeted out that play, it looked quite exotic to me, certainly for a preseason snap. That looked like, okay, this is what they're hiding or planning and cultivating. So are you saying that maybe Lance gets in to the game once they enter the red zone, 10-yard line? Like, is that what you're thinking, what Shanahan might be thinking here for 2021?
I mean, I think everything's on the table, Is he going to be given maybe he's given a drive here and there. Maybe it's you get into, short yardage situations, he comes out there. Maybe it's just down in the red zone. Eventually, it's going to be his job once he further develops in the passing game, and you're going to have to deal with all this stuff on an every down basis. But in the meantime, I think they're going to find ways, just my opinion, watching it, to be able to incorporate him and use a pretty unique skill set that he has with the creativity that you have with Kyle Shanahan. So it'll be fascinating. I know one thing: you got to prepare for it. No matter how much of it they're going to do, you got to spend a good chunk of time preparing for all that stuff.
Yeah, and the Detroit Lions, I believe, are first up for them, as Jared Goff can't quit the NFC West in his first game with the Lions. So you're saying that Lance's passing game maturity is what potentially is going to put Garoppolo out there to start that game for the 49ers? That's the decision that's coming, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way it looks to me, is that, seeing them practice out in person and then watching through the preseason. Trey's got some stuff to clean up as a passer. He's going to have some misses. Everything is hot coming out of his hand, man. It has got some big-time juice. So learn to touch some things up a little bit. I think Jimmy's he's more accurate at this point in time. So I think that's going to close. I think that gap is going to close, and then you're going to get all the big playability, not just as a runner, but just with pure arm strength, being able to stretch the field vertically that Trey's going to bring. So, I still, if you're asking me to project, I still think we see him as the starter at some point in time this season. And maybe they'll announce it's week 1, but my expectation would be it's probably Jimmy, and you're going to sprinkle Trey Lance. And then I think at some point in time during the season, he'll have evolved and grown enough to get Kyle's trust and in the regular offense that they run, that you get your cake and eat it too.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show at Move the Sticks on Twitter. He and Bucky Brooks have a podcast by the same name you should all check out right here on the Rich Eisen Show. What do you think is going through Belichick's mind? What's the evaluation there between Cam and Mac and vice versa?
Yeah, I just went and watched all the Mac stuff this morning. Kind of just wanted to go back through and refresh it and just watch all his cut-ups. Man, when he is on time, when he sees it, his back foot's down and the ball's out. I mean, Rich, he's making good decisions. The ball is with excellent ball placement, not just accuracy, ball placement, right upfield shoulder. Guys can run after the catch. He's throwing guys away from defenders. Some really, really good stuff. Now, there were some plays in that game yesterday when there wasn't anywhere to go with the football, and it kind of closed in on him, and that was you saw kind of the downside with Mac, right? You're not going to get that creativity. You're not going to get the escapability to be able to make plays. But we could have had the same knock on the previous guy that was there for 20 years, yes. And they have a pretty good idea of how to work around that. So it seems like a perfect marriage. I know Cam, having started all the preseason games, I guess that would point towards him, but golly, if you're asking me kind of what I think would be best for them, I think he'd be fine. I think I would throw Mac Jones out there week 1, and there's going to be some growing pains along the way, but it didn't, it's a preseason, but it didn't look big. It did not look big for him.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way too. Certainly, and I know that this would definitely get an eye roll out of the coach, I would assume, but week 4, Brady's coming in. Wouldn't you want Mac Jones to get up to speed, right? Unless you think Cam can really take you to the playoffs this year, and then you just give Mac a sabbatical year and just go for it as long as you can with Cam. Like maybe that, what about that as a possibility? Certainly as they're flipping Sony Michel off to the Rams because their running back crew seems to be so damn deep. Yeah. What do you think about that?
No, I mean, I think they'll be fine with Cam. They're going to, if that's the case, they're going to run it really well. They're going to play great defense and special teams, and they can win a lot of football games. I just think right now, I think Mac is in a better place in the passing game. And I think this is kind of the floor for him. He's only going to get better. So if it's close, and I think everybody, even if you were going to say they should start Cam, I think everybody would have to agree it's pretty close. So if it's close and one guy is kind of, at the floor of what he's going to be, I would just be more inclined to say, you know what, Mac Jones is good enough right now and he's going to get better. So that's, but again, Coach Belichick is way more in the details with everything going on and what their plan is for the season, and we won't know that until he announces it, that's for sure.
Daniel Jeremiah here on the Rich Eisen Show. So maybe Trevor Lawrence didn't really earn the job. It was his all along, and they were just trying to get Minshew's trade value up, and nobody ran for that head fake, took that okey doke at all. What do you think of Trevor Lawrence in his final preseason action, looking the way he did against Dallas?
Yeah, he looked crisp. And I actually thought, even in the New Orleans game where, the protection wasn't great, I saw improvement from him each week, which that's the goal, right? If you're a rookie starter, I was talking about this with somebody the other day. They were saying kind of what are the mistakes that rookies make? And I said, well, it's usually the comparison thing, right? It's putting pressure on yourself. You're looking around at other players of your position and you're feeling that pressure to outplay them. Or you're a high pick and you're looking to prove everybody right for why you were a high pick, or you're a low pick, you're looking to prove everybody wrong. The goal is just you want to just get better each week. And so when you watch Trevor Lawrence from all the way through the preseason, I saw steady improvement. And I know guys aren't playing. I hear all the, everybody wants to poo-poo everything. But I'd be encouraged if I was a Jags fan that this kid with all this talent, all this ability is getting better each week.
Well, we know he's the one there, and we know Zach Wilson's the QB1 in New York. We just discussed San Francisco and New England. That leaves the last topic of conversation on this subject with you, Daniel Jeremiah, about the Bears' decision to sit Justin Fields and start Dalton for week 1, and then who knows what. What'd you think of that choice by Matt Nagy?
Well, I mean, I understand it from his experience and looking at the Kansas City thing. I just think it's apples to oranges. To me, I think Justin Fields is mentally and physically tough enough to be able to withstand whatever comes his way early in the season, whatever failure comes his way. I think the kid's built for it. I think he'll be fine. He sure as heck is going to provide a lot more juice and excitement within the locker room, the team, and a much wider sense the fan base. So yeah, I'd want to get him up and running. My goal, if I'm, everybody's in a different phase as a team, right? My goal for the Chicago Bears is I want to get his mistakes over with as fast as possible.
Right.
So let's get him out there. Let him learn. Let him make those mistakes the first 4, 6, 8 games. And then the back half of the season, we're going to see all this ability from this really talented player start to come through. And whatever our record is at the end of the year, there's going to be a palpable buzz and excitement about what kind of football Justin Fields is playing late in the season and where this team's going to be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I just have a feeling like you wait and all of a sudden you say, oh, we're going to let him play the last 4 or 5 games. He's going to go through kind of the struggle period, the adjustment period, and then the season's over. So I would roll him out there personally.
And what do you think the Dolphins are seeing in Tua and last year and this year to lead to the possibility of, on the eve of the season, saying we're not going to give up on acquiring Deshaun Watson? Is Tua a problem in Miami? Like, what's on his tape, Daniel?
No, I thought he's looked good in the preseason. I thought he's got a little more life in his legs. Another year removed from that hip injury. I thought some of that twitch that you liked about him, that I liked about him coming through the draft process, quick release, quick setup, quick decisions, balls out. Now, he's not as talented as Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is a rare talent, So to me, it'd be more about the opportunity of bringing in a super talented player in Deshaun Watson more than a kind of a verdict on Tua is going to be a bust. I think Tua is going to be a good player. But I'm not, I think that if you ask me where does Deshaun Watson ultimately end up, I would say, you're looking at Miami, you're looking at Philadelphia. Those would be the two that I would point to. But I'm not buying that any of this stuff can go down until we have more resolution on this situation. I guess there's reports out saying, well, there can be conditions if this happens, if that happens. I just can't fathom pulling the trigger on that trade and bringing him in with all of this stuff hanging out there. How do you do that? I just don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like to put a deal together, Daniel. I mean, how could you even come up with, games played, snaps played, suspensions avoided or absorbed to figure out whether a 2 becomes a 3 or a 1 or a 4 and it becomes a 2? Oh. And I can't even imagine there's no chart for that sort of thing.
No, there's no precedent. And man, you talk about putting your coach in a tough spot. I mean, have that press conference. Good night. I just don't see how you can do it. We'll see. Hope maybe all this stuff gets resolved here, and once it does get resolved, I would imagine it won't take long before something would get done, or at least those teams would try to get something done to bring him in. But then I put on the Houston Texans hat, and I'm saying, okay, well, if all this legal stuff gets resolved, and I've just traded for all these draft picks, and Deshaun Watson ends up playing more than half of the games with this new team, they're more than likely going to win more games. And now I've just parted with a franchise quarterback who's young, and I'm going to end up with a bunch of middle first-round picks. I mean, I'd rather wait till the season was over.
Yep.
Let's look at the teams who have top 5 picks. Those are the only ones we're talking to.
Well, that's something we were talking about, why the Green Bay, if they were going to trade Aaron Rodgers, do it after the season rather than trade him before and then watch the draft choices you just acquired get worse. You at You trade them for draft choices where they're already fixed in the top 5. Best you can figure that out.
And I don't know where you are. I don't know. I haven't done all of the season prediction stuff that everybody's asked to do. I currently do not have the Houston Texans winning the Super Bowl, so I would just wait.
Way to get out on that very thin limb, Daniel. Way to take that risk. Before I let you go, I am going to utilize your insight to help me formulate my sleeper team for the AFC. I give you one for each conference before the season, and I'm circling around the Chargers right now. We spoke to Brandon Staley last week. I just love every word out of his mouth. And then, in the same way that we talked about, you want to put Justin Fields out there because get his mistakes out early. He's got a fully formed second-year quarterback as opposed to putting Herbert out there for the first time and going through lumps. And even though that was a hell of a lumpy rookie season for him last year, but it seems with everybody, there's playmakers on almost every damn level on every part of that roster. What do you think about the Chargers season since you and Matt Money Smith will be calling those games locally here in Los Angeles?
Yeah, well, first of all, we're both very happy that the preseason is over and the regular season has arrived because of kind of the adoption of the don't play any starters philosophy that Brandon Staley brought over from Sean McVay. So I'm excited to get a chance to see all these frontline players get out there against Washington. And Money and I were talking about this the other night, Rich. This is, to me, I think has got a chance to be the best offensive line they've had in a decade. And that's something Phillip Rivers just wasn't afforded to have that consistent offensive line play. They have a chance to have a really, not just an okay offensive line, a really good offensive line. So that's going to be crucial. If they can stay healthy up front along the offensive line, they're going to score a boatload of points because Keenan Allen's, a premier route runner. Austin Eckler out in space is going to be a nightmare for teams. And then you flip it over to the defensive side of the ball. You've got an elite pass rusher in Bosa. Derwin James stays healthy with Brandon Staley's creativity. He's going to be all over the field. And I think it's one of the more talented, deeper linebacker groups in the NFL. And I don't know that many people know this group, but when you see Kenneth Murray in this scheme, he is going to go nuts in this. And Kaiser White and Drew Tranquill, these guys are all low 4.5 speed guys. And so it's going to be a really, really good defense. Again, to me, it comes down to the offensive line. If they keep the offensive line healthy, they're going to win a lot of games.
Well, before I hear it, let you go, and before I hear it from my guys here, is it possible to put a division winner like Pittsburgh as a sleeper team? Is that possible to do something like that? Because nobody's talking about them. Everybody thinks they're going to stink, and I don't believe it.
After the kind of collapse after the start last year,
right.
I talk about the offensive line for the Chargers and how improved it is. It's a TBD on the offensive line for the Steelers. There's so many new faces up there. That's the only thing that concerns me. I think Ben's arm's healthy enough to be able to push it more vertically than we saw last year. The question I have is, are they going to be able to protect him in order to get that accomplished? So I know one thing, watching their preseason games, if they don't run the ball, don't be afraid to still have Najee Harris on your fantasy team because he might catch 90 balls. That'll be the run game.
Okay, good information. Excellent nugget. Go. You are now free to return to the symposium. Turn your camera back on. Tell them all.
Hopefully still gainfully employed.
You still. I'll see you at the ribbon cutting. You take care.
See you, buddy.
All right, man. That's Daniel Jeremiah at Move the Sticks. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.